for me, I've found my purpose where I actually want to help other guys because me being an elder, really, I'm an older bloke, I'm 50, and I feel I can help the younger generation that are coming through being a builder that can do it so much better than what I did.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We're back in the shed this afternoon for another cracking episode. So look, I'm going to jump straight into it with our guest today. He was our very first podcast guest. He's a cracking guy. He's a good mate of mine. He's been through a hell of a lot in the last 12 months. And I've got him back because I want to hear the story and let a lot of you guys and girls know what happens when you put time and energy and effort into yourself, and how it can not only change your life, change your business, change your team, change everything. So a big warm welcome back to Justin from Abode Constructions.
How you going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate, good. I was just saying to Justin, I'm just sitting here thinking I hate catching up with you now because you're looking so fucking good. Every time I see you, you've lost weight, you're looking younger, and I'm looking older and shittier.
I love it.
Yeah,
awesome.
What's going on, mate?
12 months ago, so a little bit over 12 months ago, we did this podcast, and I know, like I said in the first time around, that you and I went along to that Cool to Be Conscious breathwork, and from there I've just sort of gone further with it, and for me, I've just really implemented a lot of that breathwork into my business, and that's really changed my business and changed me as well, and.
So you used to be, well, you may still be a bit, I don't see it, but you used to be a bit of a hothead, didn't you?
I did, for me, I just didn't feel like I had breathing space. For me, I felt like everything was on top of me, and I just didn't have that time to probably make the right decisions where I was reactive instead of being something proactive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I've got that more breathing space. It feels like I can actually have more time to make the right decisions. Yes, things don't go right, but then what I do if something's not right in a job, you get really triggered. I actually then go to another job. I actually sit out the front of the job. I actually drop into breath.
Yeah.
And I do a breath work to move back into the next space where then I'm actually more centered and more calm, knowing that I'm leaving behind whatever's triggered me. And then for me, I'm turning up as my true self.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so good to see, mate, because, like you were getting into it a little bit here and there, weren't you? And then we went to that breathing exercise up at Noosa, and then you've sort of just kept progressing with it. But then you had a bit of a major event in your life.
Yes.
That sort of...
So, as everyone knows, we had COVID. That sort of separated me from my family down there at Byron Bay. So I couldn't get back. So I finally got back in the January, and me working on myself, doing that Cool to Be Conscious. For me, I just realised that. What it was like to hold space for a woman. And I never, for 50 years, didn't know how to actually hold space for a woman. And me doing that exercise really opened my eyes, that I came back to my marriage and my family life. Really, there was so much missing in it, and I sort of asked my wife to go and do counselling and everything and whatever, and she sort of didn't really, move forward with it. And then I sort of just... put it out there saying, I think, I don't think we can move forward. And she sort of agreed with it. So then, now, that was back in February this year, moved back into home. And then I moved out in February because, it wasn't working. And then from there, I was actually talking to a guy, Lino Holler from Men's Medicine. So I started with him in January this year. He's been my mentor and coach this year.
Yeah.
What he's done for me is just been phenomenal. Everything he's put in front of me, I've just run with.
Yeah.
And I just came back, 6 weeks ago. I'm doing actually a 12-week program with him at the moment, on the last couple of weeks of that.
So you're putting a lot of time and energy into yourself. But can we just go, just take us back? So you just said you couldn't hold space.
Yep.
So you'd been married for what,
18 years.
18 years.
Yep.
So, can we touch on that? Because I got a lot out of that Cool to Be Conscious thing we did as well on this.
Yep.
And a lot of people talk about it these days, and the world has really never taken any notice of the feminine side.
Correct.
And us blokes really neglect a lot of what our partners need.
Yep. So for me, it's, what I've really learned, Duayne, in the last 8 months is how to live in my feminine side.
Yeah.
And I never knew how to do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us do.
No.
Because growing up, it's like we're taught not to.
Yeah. Should be right, mate. You know what I mean? Toughen up, son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of actually feeling that emotion, and allowing you to feel, and actually then then when you feel that emotion, you can actually then turn up to be the right man for your woman. Do you know what I mean? Where I wasn't for that for my ex. Do you know what I mean? And like she missed out on so much that I wasn't for her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like for me, I wanted to try and bring that, but I think it was just too much water.
Too far gone.
Yeah, it was too much water under the bridge. Do you know what I mean? Where, you know, she was hurt and everything and stuff, which she's entitled to be. You know what I mean? I'm putting my hand up. I was more than 50% of the problem why we actually didn't work. You know what I mean? And like for the way I was, you know what I mean? As you said, I was angry. You know what I mean? And I understand. I've articulated a lot of this. The reason why I was angry. You know what I mean? I felt that I wasn't loved. I wasn't appreciated. You know, and everything. So for me, I felt like it's. I'd come home in a head of steam. You know what I mean? I didn't have. And you know what? And like you said. If you got to make sure that you're right first.
You've got to be right yourself, otherwise nothing around you is right.
Yeah, so you got to fill your cup first before you start filling anyone else's. So, and you know, you're a testament to that. You've done a lot of that as well, you know. Like you and I walked Everest together, you know, and that was a thing filling our cup, you know. For me, that's probably a catalyst to a lot of the stuff that
for me, that was the start of it.
Yeah.
Like that was the turning point in my life.
Yeah.
Like we'd started working on business things and doing bits and pieces here and there, but I had never done anything like that. Like we talked about on the last episode, like when I was asked to go to Everest, I was like, where is it? Like, that was my lack of going to school. But it's funny how like situations happen in your life and you can either get really down about it, depressed about it, take like a lot of anger about it or whatever, or you can start to look at yourself and think, well, why is this happening? What's going on? What can I do differently? But it's really like it's funny because like it's not something that gets talked about, and yet so many people out there now are talking about this feminine side. Like there shouldn't be all this equal like pay and all this. Like we shouldn't be talking about it because it should just be.
Yeah, correct.
Like just because there's a female accountant and a male accountant or whatever, like there should be no difference in pay.
Yep,
like,
I agree.
So I think it is something that needs to be spoken about more. But I take my hat off to you, mate. Like for the work you've done yourself and owning it. I think that's a big thing in it. You got to take responsibility. Yep. You got to step up and own stuff, and then you can start to move on and be a better you. And
that's the thing for me, like for me, a massive trauma's happened for me this year, right? Yeah. Either I could have gone and turned to booze and drugs and whatever. But for me, I actually haven't done that. I've actually gone the opposite. I've actually sat in myself and actually realised where I've gone wrong, you know. And for me, this is where Breathwork's helped me. Like, you know, there's not a day that I don't do breath work every morning, you know, and I actually then meditate, you know. It happens, it's a daily practice for me because it just really centers me. But then, so then from there, Lino then, you know, for this year's really helped me. I actually went to Spirit Breathwork and actually become a facilitator in breathwork as well. And for me, it's my staff that has seen the change in me. It's not that I've actually gone, oh, look at me. They've just seen me turn up. And they and they want to know about it. They're going, you know, what the fuck's this stuff? You know, what the fuck is it? So then I said,
well, you can see it, mate, just in the way you present yourself, and your like smile on your face. Like, like you've lost a shitload of weight. You're looking fit. Like I said, you're fucking looking 15 years younger. So I need to do more breath work.
Yeah, but that's for me. Like you're saying, I own my shit. I did. You know, there's a lot of things that I probably was not owning throughout my life. You know, and I even worked through my inner child from my childhood, you know what I mean, which I've never done, you know, and for me to work through that sort of pain that I've had as a child, I mean, everyone's got mum and dad issues, right?
Yeah.
No matter if you had a good mum and dad or whatever, but there's something that's come up as a child that comes up, do you know what I mean? And it keeps rearing its head, do you know what I mean?
How do you work, can you tell us how you work through that? Like, I'd imagine that, because I know when we did that thing with Cool to Be Conscious, that day event, I felt like there was someone over me, and I feel like I let a lot go that day, but I think I've still got more to let go, and it's definitely something I want to keep working on. But like, does it scare you? Like, like how do you deal with this stuff when it comes up?
So when you do breath work to what I do, which I've done, right? I've probably done 30 plus breathworks this year where it's 40 minutes plus.
Yeah.
So what happens in there when you're breathing that long, right? You're breathing and it's conscious breathing, right? Because you do 22,000 breaths a day, right? So when you're actually breathing, you're doing the conscious breath. So DMT is a psychedelic. We actually naturally have that within our body, right? So you're allowed to when you breathe that much, you actually bring DMT up, which just allows you to move through trauma through your life. So I've actually been through this. I've been bawling my eyes out at the end of breath work and everything. So much stuff's come up, you know what I mean? And I've had somatic releases where I'm actually having primal screams and everything. I mean, you heard those guys when you were there. Yeah. So, well, I've done that, you know what I mean, for me. And then I've actually, so when I went to, for me, I never worked on my inner child before, where I went to Lino's, we went down to the Hunter Valley, and it was a 4-day retreat we did. We actually had to write a letter to our 12-year-old self and whatever, you know, and then for me, mate, I was there for an hour, and we did an hour and a half breathe. That's the longest breathe I've ever done. That was like massive. Mate, I could not stop crying for half an hour afterwards. Yeah. For me, just moving through that emotion that I've had stuck in me for all my, I wrote to my 12-year-old self, I'm 50. So that's 38 years I've been carrying this shit around that I actually moved through, and I've never done that ever in my life, For me, it's just been huge, and like.
Do you feel like you've had this big release? Like you feel lighter? Like you've got no shit to deal with?
I feel I'm pinging off the walls every day, mate. It feels like I am on drugs, you know what I mean? But I'm high on myself. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's just me. I'm just always in a good mood. Nothing gets me down. And it feels like I'm dealing with my clients probably better than I've ever have before, you know what I mean? And it's just with everything, And so for me as well, I want to bring this to the construction industry to help men. Because I've gone from a guy who was a typical builder, over 110 kilos, fat, drinking most days and everything. You know what I mean?
Always stressed out.
Yeah, always stressed,
blaming everybody else.
100% and not owning anything. Do you know what I mean? For now, I've actually flipped it. I've lost 17 kilos. And I've, now I'm working on myself and making myself a better person. And I'm turning up for my relationships and whatever that looks like as a much better person, do you know what I mean? And turning up as my true self, which I was probably dumbing down, which I never turned up as my true self, where before I always have this bravado, which comes with the building industry, this ego, you know what I mean? And whatever, and everyone's puffing their chest out. I'm the builder, and, you walk on the job site and everyone should be sort of bowing down to you because you're the builder and whatever. But, if you walk and you actually... For me, that's what I did do, you know what I mean? I did do that for years and years. Now, the respect I get from everyone by just being that person, that not that person, do you know what I mean? And then for there as well, 6 months ago, which I've told Duayne about, I actually have implemented this probably not 6, probably 4 months ago, I implemented in my business where we actually set out. So if all my boys are at different jobs, we turn up one job on a Monday morning.
Yeah, so talk us through, I wanted to get to this, because I think it's a good thing, but I want to know how you started implementing it, because there is going to be guys out there that probably think about doing this, and they might have guys in their team that are like, oh, fuck that, like I'm not doing that shit, like and look, it's not for everyone, is it? Like,
no.
And to make it work the best, you have to accept it, don't you? Because if you're standoffish and not into it, it's never going to work.
No.
So how did you get your team on board with this?
Because they saw the change in me. I led by example.
Yeah.
For me, I was just doing the breath work, doing it every weekend. I was doing it, and then I was turning up, and Lino was helping me. I've been to 2 men's walks for 6 hours with Lino, massive breathes. I've done a couple of workshops with him as well. So I've done a lot of stuff this year that to change me, and so they've actually just seen me change, and for me to turn up and they just can't believe I'm the same person what I was 12 months ago, and then they, for me, and I said, well, guys, would you be interested in doing some breath with me? And they said, yeah. And so what I did is I went I actually went away to do my course for the 6 days, which become a facilitator. So I actually articulated this a lot when I was away, that I actually wanted to help my staff. And then for me, I wanted to help people in the industry. So for me, I thought, instead of me doing what everyone's done with, they've gone and done these courses to go and get out of the industry they're currently in and go and start their own. For me, I want to change it from the inside out.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to change my business first. And then I can say, look, this is what my business is like. Then I can actually help other builders, because this is where I want to do, is help other builders and I've really found my purpose in it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I found my massive purpose that I want to, like you as well, you've actually helped you're helping in other areas. For me, I just feel I can help builders with their stress. So what I did is I just said, well, what we do is we take our shoes off, we get a bit of prana, which is a bit of earthing ourselves, and we all get in a huddle. And then we set our intentions for the week. So I've got this 18-year-old, like you wouldn't believe, straight out of school last year. And some of the stuff he said to me, like in the first 2 weeks, he said, I want to learn something this week that I'm going to take away for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And you just go, wow, this is powerful. Do you know what I mean? So we're actually sitting there, setting our intention. And then we drop into a primer breath, which is 10 breaths in, hold for 10, and then 20 breaths in, hold for 20, 30 breaths in and hold for 30, and then we just go back to our normal breaths, and then we all hug each other at the end of the day, at the end and everything. And just for me, it just feels like everyone's turning up for everyone much better than what they were before. And they come to work, Monday, everyone's usually kicking stones.
Were they all in from the beginning, or did you have guys a bit standoffish, or?
Well, Harry, which I think you've met Harry, right? But Harry went away and he's come back working for me, right? And like about 3 months in, he's there and he was like, I'll never forget this, right? This is about 6 weeks ago. He come back and I said, we're going to drop into breath. And he said, I haven't drunk last night. So he thought I was doing breathalyzers. I thought I was doing breathalyzers. I said, no, we're not doing breathalyzers. We're actually doing breathwork. And he said, what's this about? And everything. So, but he was a bit, you could feel the energy from him. He was a bit going, what's this sort of stuff going on? You know what I mean? But now that he's into it, and I've actually breathed all my men one-on-one, you know what I mean? So like a 40-minute breathe with all of them in my office, where I've set up a space in there, and then, so for that, it's just, and then I've taken them down to Leno's Breathwork as well, which is on a Tuesday morning. And I mean, I tell you, the release the boys, I couldn't believe it. I had 5 men there, and all of them sat up and they're all bawling their eyes out because they've actually just got in touch with themselves, their true self, and everything. It's just, and it's
amazing stuff, isn't it? Because I don't know, it's just such, like, I feel like we've all been turned into something that we're not. Like we're all brought up, I guess, being afraid of being able to speak openly, and like whatever it's about, whether you're gay, lesbian, whether you're like your feminine side, like your feelings, like it's just, and it's crazy, isn't it? Because it shouldn't be that way. Like everyone should be able to be their own self and a better version of them. And just because as you're growing up, there was a certain beliefs, or you were born into a certain religion, or whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean you have to be like that.
Yep. And that's what it does. So breathwork brings up your true self, your spirit side, your physical side, and your mental side. So when you actually do breathe like that, it actually brings all that up, and then you become your true self. For me, I've actually become my true self, which I probably was not doing for most of my life, because something happened when I was younger that's probably made me to go in a certain way, you know what I mean, be a certain way in life, So for me, it's been, that's what's happened to me. And then for me, I've started my own company as well, which I thought we were going to get onto, but Inner Breath as well. For me, it's just,
that's because I think it's really good that you've worked through it with yourself, you're doing it with your team, but like you actually come along to the Builders Breakfast group we have here in Brisbane, and a few weeks ago, didn't you? And we did one at the start of the Builders Breakfast, and now a couple of those guys have hit you up to do it with their team. So we'll get onto that now. I was going to save it till the end, but you've started a business to do this.
Yeah. So for me, I really want to help. For me, it's because I've resonate with builders, because 16 years I have my own business, 30 years I've been in the industry. I feel I can talk the talk and walk the walk with them, and I can actually show them by the way what's happened to me in the last 12 months to say that you can change your life. And one thing that one of my boys is actually with the breath work is about, like you said, filling your cup first, and that's what keeps coming up every time with him. He has a breathe. that he's forgetting about himself. So me, I'd love to help men to say, look, you got to look after yourself first, you know, and otherwise you can't be that right person. You got your 3 pillars in life, you know what I mean? Your family, self, and service, you know what I mean? And they've all got to be humming along, you know, and you got to be right first before you can be that husband and that, you know, and that father and a business owner, you know. So if you're not right within yourself first, how can you be right in any other areas of your life?
Yeah, it's so powerful, isn't it? Like it's so, like you can just better relationship with your kids, with your wife. Like I definitely like I know I've got a lot more to work on in that space. Like that again that day session that we did really opened my eyes up to and it, like for me at that day session we did, and you and I talked about it. Like it was amazing. Like because there almost would have been 50-50, wouldn't there, males and females, and it was funny seeing how the blokes reacted with the women, wasn't it? Because it's almost like we're afraid to open up in front of them, but like in that scenario that day, like we had no choice. And I've said this before, like if I had known what was going to happen that day, I wouldn't have gone. But I'm really glad I did. Like it put me out of my comfort zone. I got rid of a lot of shit that day. I remember saying to you when we walked out, I felt the same walking out that day as I did when we made it to base camp. I remember you saying that. It just felt like this accomplishment, like this weight had lifted off my shoulders. Like we chatted the whole way home. Like I got home, I gave Camille a big hug, and apologized. Like it's powerful stuff, hey, when you start finding yourself.
So that's one thing that why I feel my relationship did break down with my ex is that I never gave her time, and I never actually had those date nights with her, which I think are very important because everything else gets in the way. You know, your life gets in the way, your business gets in the way, and then the kids get in the way, and then you actually do forget each other. And that's what's happened to us. You know, we've got a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, and then later in life, we've both forgotten each other. You know, and hence why we're not together. You know, because we just have grown apart. You know, and that's why I keep pushing my staff. I mean, I've only just realised this myself, and I've had a massive epiphany since I've had a divorce, where I didn't know how to turn up for a woman. Now that I'm actually in a relationship, I'm actually turning up with her and I'm being 100% present. Yeah. Where I wasn't before. I was always distracted by something else.
Yeah, and it's like you, I'll definitely put my hand up and like I'm guilty of this. Like I think it's like because you're in that relationship or you're in that marriage that you feel like it's there. Like I don't have to do anything about it. Like it's just there. Nothing's going to change. But the reality is that if you do just let it sit there and you don't put any effort in, it's going to end badly.
Correct. Yeah, you've got to nurture it as much as you. And like I say, I had 3 babies in my life. It was my 2 kids and my business. I had to burp and cuddle it and everything all the way through, but really you need to do that with your marriage as well, and you can't forget that because, really when, kids leave, what do you got left? You got each other. You're going to be looking at each other and going, what the fuck happened for the last 18 years? You know what I mean? You've forgotten who that person is because everyone changes every 7 years. Yeah. So there's, remember Mo Gaddett?
Mate, I'm addicted to him now.
So he speaks about it in that Stephen Bartlett thing, and he talks about his wife, right? And he was married for 29 years. He reckons he fell in love with his wife 4 times. Yeah. Over that 29 years where she was a different, she was that, person he met at university, and then he, had the, children, and then the next 7 years. So he reckons he fell in love with his wife 4 times over those years. You know what I mean?
And it's true. Like it's true because when you think about it, like you fall in love with someone generally when you're younger for like whether it's the group you hang around or like there's a reason that you fall in love with that person. Yep. And then you grow together, and then like when you have a family, you both change. You become different people. Correct. And so you have to love that person. Yep. And then as the family grows, you need to love that person. Like and I think look, I'll put my hand up. Like you got to, I know I can put in more effort with Camille and with our relationship, and it's so easy to just always have an excuse, isn't it? Like, we can't get a babysitter. Oh, we're too busy. Oh, I've got to get this done. Oh, we're tired tonight. Like, but it's like, and the way I'd like to think of it now, like I've seen my businesses just flourish when I know what to do with them, and when I put in the time, when I put in the money, when I put in the effort. And your relationship shouldn't be any different.
100%.
And yet we all ignore it.
100%.
And then, like you say, then we ignore our kids. And like I'm starting to see that now. Like my kids are at an age where they're getting involved with sports and things. So we're just always busy. Like there's sports through the week, there's training, there's nighttime sports, and there's weekend sports. Like, and time flies. Like I'm looking at my eldest now and going, far out. Like you were turning into a little woman. Like, where's my little girl that used to cuddle up on the lounge with me and like, so if I don't grasp that now, like, yeah, it's another 6 years, she'll be gone.
And that's the thing is for me, I put my hand up, and this is where I'm trying to mend my relationship with my children. You know, I was so business focused where I didn't have that relationship with my kids, and now it's showing. But now they've seen the change in me in the last few months. You know what I mean? For me, the relationship's completely changed with my kids. And now I'm being 100% present with them, which I probably wasn't before. You know what I mean? I put my hand up around it, you know? And
do you think some of it's got to do with not giving a fuck? I'll explain it a bit more. Like, because I know I was guilty of this. Like you get so sucked into the business, and then you feel like you have to satisfy your clients.
Yeah.
And so, and then you get caught in the business, and then you get caught in the cash flow, and it's just this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And you're so involved in it that you take your eye off the ball, and the ones that get hurt are the family and the ones that you're actually doing it all for.
Correct.
And the reason I say, like, I've got to a point in my business, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but you've got to not give a fuck, because like a client's putting extra pressure on me, my staff, my business, Camille in the office, because they've set some sort of goal that they want to be in a house by, is not my problem.
No.
Delays in our industry are not my problem. Price increases are not my problem. So I'm at a point now where I don't give a fuck. I just tell it how it is. Like, whereas in the old days, I would have just tried to do everything I could to keep pleasing everybody.
It's people pleasing.
Yeah.
You don't want to people please.
Yeah. And now I look after myself and my family. If something's delayed, it's delayed.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
Yep.
We follow the contract. You get a time extension. It is what it is. If something changes and we can't get it and you got to pay more, it is what it is. Yep. I'm not going to wear the cost. I'm going to follow my contract. I'm going to execute my job as per the contract, and it is what it is. Yep. Because I'm in business and I'm a professional. I'm not here to just do everything that my client wants me to do.
Correct.
And some people are going to take that the wrong way. It is what it is, but you've got to, I think it's making me a better business person thinking like that. And I actually think we're attracting better clients with me thinking like that, because people understand that I am a business. I'm not just someone that's here to drop at their beck and call and do whatever they want. Like, yep. I'm running a business. My business operates by my rules, and we'll build you a beautiful home if you let us follow our processes and system. And
that's part of most of my problem. I believe I was a people pleaser, you know, and that's what it is. People pleasing everybody, you know, and then you're not pleasing yourself first, you know. You actually looking out there, looking after everyone else, and you're nowhere to be seen, you know, where, you know, if you start looking after yourself first, and then everything else will fall into place. And then for me, it is, and then you saying it like that, I believe that it is like that for me. And I don't.
That's probably putting it a bit harshly, but
I don't get caught up in the business as much as I used to. Do you know what I mean? Well, I used to get really anxious around it, and then you'd be like getting triggered and everything by the client. But, you know, and that's where the client, it's their fault, because they're putting expectations. And sometimes, and Mo Get talks about this in his book as well, about people putting expectations on things, because you're going to get sorely disappointed. So for me, you just try and manage that expectations with the client.
That's all it is.
And setting it at the beginning, saying this is what it is.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And then I feel everything sort of falls into place.
Yeah. Yeah. Rather than pleasing everybody, it's managing and mitigating and just handling situations and giving, I think so much of it just comes back to clear communication. And I think, again, as falling into the people pleasing trap, you let everything else fall over just because you're always trying to please. And that could be your clients, it could be your subbies, could be your employees, it could be so many different things. And I actually think even on that, like I think I'm at a place in my life where like I used to get so hung up on being worried about losing people. But reality is, at the end of the day, there is always going to be more people.
Yep.
Yes, it might cause some drama. You're going to have to train some new people. You're going to have to get them up to your expectations and whatever it may be. But it is what it is. Like there's nothing I can do about it.
Yep.
If someone wants to move on from my team and go and get other experience somewhere else, or go out on their own,
Yep.
it is what it is.
Yep.
Like, and that's what I come back to. Like, who gives a fuck? Like,
That's right.
I can't control it. I can't do anything about it. All I can focus on is myself and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love it. That's so true.
But it's funny how you found, like, you've just taken, like, you literally just ran with this, eh? Like, now you're facilitating. So what's your business?
So it's called Inner Breath, and I started it about 2 or 3 months ago. So for me, I've only just breathed my boys and a few other people at the moment. I actually haven't really gone out to the marketplace, but for me, eventually I'm going to start. I'm trying to wind myself out of my business where I can have at least 1 or 2 days off to actually do it. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm implementing a lot of things at the moment so that I actually can do this. For me, I still want to keep my construction business because I still love it. Do you know what I mean? I still love building. Do you know what I mean? I still love getting on the tools and I really love it, But for me, I found my purpose where I actually want to help other guys because me being an elder, really, I'm an older bloke, I'm 50, and I feel I can help the younger generation that are coming through being a builder that can do it so much better than what I did. By actually, implementing things in their life and trying.
And that's pretty unusual in our industry because that's like I'm doing a similar thing, and that's like you and I have spoken about this. Like you'd ask, like as you're coming through, you'd ask older builders like what's going on, and they'd say, "Fuck, harden up, mate. That's just it. Deal with it."
100%.
Like I think I take my hat off to you, mate. I think it's really awesome, and I definitely think there's a lot of people out there that'll listen to this podcast and they'll either love it or hate it. Like it is one of those things. Like I've spoken to a lot of people about some of the breathing experiences that we've had, and you just see their eyes sort of like rolling in their head, like, oh fuck, what are you talking about? Like it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, but like I said before, if I hadn't known what was going to happen that day, I would never have done it, and I wouldn't be in the place I am now and comfortable with myself and all those sorts of things. So, like, what's your dream, mate? Like, you want to have. I want to give back to the industry in a way that's different to what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, it's not all about spiritualism, because it is a bit, woo-woo, you know what I mean? As everyone sort of says, but for me, it's you're actually getting in tune with yourself, you know what I mean? And that's one thing you forget, is getting in tune who you are, and then, because you get lost in everything. So, I really want to help other men within the industry because I already have, one of my boys, I'm actually implementing a diary at the moment, a journal. I'm actually trialing out myself, and I want to start selling. It actually helps you in the morning. So it's a gratitude in the morning. So you get up in the morning, what are you grateful for? What experience you're grateful for, what person you're grateful for, what thing you're grateful for. And then also I feel that routines in the morning has helped me massively as well. Like I get up, I stretch in the morning because, getting this older body, it doesn't sort of move Stop saying you're old, mate. Stop saying you're old.
But the body doesn't really move like it used to. So every morning I get up, I've got up half an hour early, I do a stretch, then I do a breath work. So then it even starts with making your bed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm big on this one.
So for me, it's about even getting up and making sure your bed's made, everything's in right, and then your mind is ready for the day. So for me, I feel routines has really helped me a lot, and I feel it sets you for the day, that you're actually ahead of the game, and so this is what my journal I'm doing. So then you can write down what comes in your head, and then at the end of the day, you talk about what your pit of the day is and what your peak of the day is, right?
Yeah.
So but then actually that pit and the peak is, what did you actually learn from that peak, and what did you actually learn from that pit? Do you know what I mean? And so for me, I've actually got this journal. I've actually given it to one of my boys, and he's actually been using it for the last 4 weeks, and he said he absolutely loves it. So
it's huge, mate. Like I don't do it enough, but I think I'm into journaling and routines. Like I think it's I talk about this a lot. Like I think something that's really helped me is finding out the person I am, and like who, like once you find out the person you are, it helps you understand why you do things the way you do and
Correct.
all that type of stuff. And I feel like no one puts any energy into it. Like I knew nothing about it. And now that I'm talking about it, I actually can't remember what my colour is. But if you, it'll come to me. I'll let everyone know. But because I am the type of person that back in the day, or probably even now, they would diagnose me with ADHD. Well, I can't even say it, but and it's really helped me understand why I react to certain things, why I deal with things a certain way. So I think like it's a mixture of things, isn't it? Like having routine, doing your breathing work, owning things, taking responsibility. Like when you start working on all these little things and they all come together, you get to the place you're at now, don't you?
It's a 1%ers. So you work on the 1% a day, and that becomes, it gradually snowballs. You know what I mean? So you don't have to go and do all these big things at once because that's unattainable. Yeah. Okay. So what you do is you just do these 1%ers every day. Like, for me, it's just, and then like you say with journaling, it's actually getting that shit out of your head on the paper. And then you go back and look at it and go, oh, well, I was thinking that at that time, and everyone go, it's really hard to journal, but it's not. You just need to sort of sit there and sit in yourself and actually have time to yourself to think about it, And like one of my other boys there, I've told him like he's forgotten himself. So I said, every Wednesday you need to go and talk to your wife and say 4:30 to 5:30, because he's actually set up a golf thing at his backyard. From 4:30 to 5:30 Wednesday, I'm going out to hit an hour of balls. I said, you need to go and do that, because you're just going to forget yourself. And that's the thing, is that that's why I want to help men in the industry, that you can't forget yourself. It's just one thing that happens. You get lost in it, and then you turn to vices. Yeah, drinking. Yeah, porn, which is a massive thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's where. You don't need to do that, where you just, if you start working on yourself, and I'll be honest, drinking was a big part of my life 12 months ago. I used to drink most days, and I used to, but now I hardly touch drink, do you know what I mean? I hardly have a drink at all, It's just, it's not that I'm, it's just, I just don't feel like I want to, It's just completely,
awesome.
You know what I was like, I used to love getting out.
We've had some benders,
but even like I went to Fraser last week with the boys, and I didn't really drink much. Like every other year, I've probably got as pissed as they have. But this year, I didn't. I actually.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Actually, so I'm an indigo. If you haven't found out what you are, you should look into it. But I'm an indigo person, and it's really helped me understand who I am and what I do and why I do things. But let's touch on that, because we were talking about that before we got on. We started recording, because. Like I've been doing it for a long time. You've come on board now. You've done it like 5-6 years.
This
now.
is my 5th year, yeah.
And so let's talk about that, because it does tie in with what we're talking about. Like you take your team like I do to Fraser once a year.
And like Duayne's very much like me. The culture is a big part of your business. If you don't have your culture right, no one wants to be there. Everyone's kicking stones. So for me, it's good to have men there to actually get to know each other outside of work, and then
the trips teach you a lot.
It does massive. And like, I've spoken about this as well. You see who's actually stepping up, who's actually cooking. We supply the food and everything for everyone, and a bit
put
of
on all the beer, all the drinks.
They
basically got to turn up with their pillow and their fishing gear, and
pretty much
we cover the costs. But it does, like, and we've just talked about it, and we've definitely had the similar situation where I've come back from that trip with a guy that had only been with us for a few months, and basically made the call that I don't want this guy on my team anymore. Like and look, for me, it's not about people turning up and going crazy and like trying to bloody impress you. It's about turning up and just putting their hand up. Like if someone does the cooking, the other half does the cooking, half does the cleaning, and then the next night you swap around. And look, to be honest, and you said this before, like, I don't mind if I cook every night. Like I quite enjoy having a few beers, standing by the barbie, cooking lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever it is. But it's just that people coming up and offering, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you see the guys who actually is a team player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You actually see who's actually is putting in for everyone else, and then
you get the ones that sometimes just don't fucking lift a finger the whole weekend. And then to me, I look at that and I think, fuck, no wonder you come to work and whinge that you get nagged about at home. Like, if you like this at home, like, no wonder you do. Like,
100%.
I don't think it matters where you are in life, whether it's playing sport, whether it's working in a team environment, whether it's at home with your wife and kids. Like, you've got to share responsibility, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
It's just part of creating a good environment.
Yep.
And like, I don't know. Well, this might open up a can of worms, but like, so many blokes whinge that they don't get enough.
Yep.
And yet they fucking turn up, get home from work, don't lift a finger, don't help around the house, and they wonder why their wife doesn't work.
So foreplay, men, starts before you get into bed. It does. It's just like, last night, the girl I'm seeing, she came over, she brought dinner over. So I turned out all the lights. I had all the candles going on in the house. She's turned out, and mate, that's just, it's just something little.
Yeah.
It took me all of 10 minutes to put 10 candles around the place.
Yeah.
And she turned up, she's, frothing. And this is fantastic,
Yeah.
and it's just little things like that you got to do for your partner.
And just helping, like Camille and I got a rule, whoever cooks, the other one cleans. Like, you share responsibility. Like, I know, like, I never used to.
Yep.
Like, you get home from work and you think, oh, I've worked all day. I'm just going to sit on the couch and chat with the kids. But they've worked all day as well.
Yep.
So why is it their responsibility to clean the house and do all the cooking and all that sort of shit?
And I'll be honest, that's probably part of my, I'll be honest, I put my hand up about that, my marriage, you know what I mean? I did do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd turn home and I'd be completely exhausted and I'd probably sit in front of the box, watching the box.
Yeah.
Now we don't have TV at all in our house, and that's been the best thing for us.
I hate TV, mate.
Yeah, and I don't even really watch it anymore, where I used to be, but now it's just...
Isn't it funny? Like, I sort of have and look, everybody's different, but I have a little giggle to myself because, like, we build these beautiful homes for people and you do your electrical walkthrough, and probably one of the common conversation is how many TVs we're going to have, how big they're going to be.
100%.
Like, and I just think to myself in my head, like, what? Like, why do you need so many TVs? Why do you need a huge TV in your bedroom? Like, we don't have any TVs in our bedrooms. We've actually only got one TV in the house, and it's probably 15 years old, and I think it's only like I don't know even what inches it'd be, but it's not very big. Like, honestly, I probably only watch half hour to an hour max of TV a day.
Yep.
And so do my kids, so does Camille. Like, it's all those little things, isn't it? That take, like, if you take all that out, it brings us back to where you are now. Like, you're so in. Actually, let's talk about this. So you're so in touch with yourself and happy that you don't need any of that shit.
No, well, I did. I used to go and watch Netflix. I'll be honest, 12 months ago, right? I used to watch series after series, and I never forget that. What's that? Peaky Blinders. It's a pretty good show, I'll be honest. But when it came out, I'd just sit there and binge, and I'd watch for 2 days, and there'd be like 7 episodes, and I'd just be binging on it. You know what I mean? I'm just going, but now I don't even do that anymore. I don't even feel the inkling for that. And everyone wants to have escapism, and that's the way people do is they escape by watching TV, where you actually worked out who you were and actually worked on yourself. You really don't need any of that shit. You know what I mean? You can just be happy in your own skin, and that's one thing. I'll be honest, I was a shocker for it. But it's just me working on myself in the last, it's just completely, and it's not that I've specifically gone to say I'm not going to watch it. It's just naturally has happened.
Yeah. Because I've definitely seen a change in you because the first time we met, we'll go back, I don't know, it's a long time now.
2015, I think it was.
It'd be long than that.
You reckon?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'd be 7. It'd have to be 7 or 8. Oh, well, it's 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years.
So, anyone saw the first podcast probably knows this, but Justin and I got invited on a work trip by one of our hardwares. Our rep that had invited both of us that said, hey, I'm going to introduce this guy. You hopefully get on. His best mate died like the day before we meant to fly out, gave us a call, said, hey, I can't come. This is Justin's details. Meet him at the airport. I'm sure you'll get on. And we did. We met at the airport the next morning and we pretty much got on like a frigging house on fire.
Yep.
But from that trip, so I took off out of that trip. So Justin was I'm the biggest bogan around. Like, I wear the same frigging clothes for years. My pluggers are my most favoured bloody personal belonging. And I'm a pretty basic guy. And we're over in the States, and Justin is teaching me how to shop. I bought my first flash watch. I bought you're setting me up with bloody aftershaves and you went watch shopping, and I was like, fuck, this is different. Yeah. So we're like, but that's all changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not even like, I've got a Breitling watch, right, and it's worth a squeeing, and I don't even wear any of that anymore. For me, I was so into that ego side of stuff, and it's so, and
that's why I wanted to touch on it, because I've seen like that has been a massive change that I've noticed in you. Like, you're always in the new flash gear and the shoes and everything, and like now you're just chilled.
Yep.
Like
I was an ego, and that's one thing with breathwork. It gets you out of your ego, and it moves you back into your true self. So for me, I don't really care about it. Now I just run around and running and everything all the time. That's all I ever do now. I just, for me, it's just, I still like my good clothes. I'm wearing Nike and all that.
But mate, you're glowing, but like you definitely you've got a completely different presence than what you did along like 12 months ago, 18 months ago, a couple of years ago. Like I just think it's amazing, mate. So look, hopefully everyone's got a lot out of this podcast, and look, everything we're doing with this Level Up podcast is about creating a new building industry, trades, builders, everyone working together, speaking up, telling stories, and just showing people that we're all on the same page. We all deal with the same things, and like we just talked about today, it's okay to have a hug and a cry every now and then. Like, get in touch with your feminine side. So, mate, I take my hat off to you for what you're doing. So for anybody out there that's listening, check Justin out. So you've got an Instagram page and stuff now?
Yeah, it's called inner.breath.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just only started a couple of months ago, and just really probably bringing stuff to the people around, quotes, for them to help with what I've sort of articulated, and then also I've thrown some breath works in as well. Like at Fraser, I've actually breathed my boys on the beach with the sunrise as well, and that was pretty cool. So that was a couple of a couple of videos on that. So, but for me, it's just I just want to give back to the industry in a different way to what you're doing. You know what I mean?
So you reckon would one of your goals be, mate, in the near future to see builders and tradies doing 5-10 minutes of breath before they start working in the morning? Bloody hashtag and inner.breath.
Yeah. For me, what I'd like to do is, which I've started, is really the builder actually start it, where then they actually lead by example, which I've done, and then actually bring that to their staff, and then at the beginning of the week set their intentions with each other, and actually, because then you're there for each other, because you see that person more than you see your own family. And if you really make that really land, you go, well, I see this person, then you got to make sure that you get on with that person. And then you actually been there for that person for whatever they're going through, it makes the work environment so much better, And I feel that if you did that at the beginning of the week, everyone sets their intentions, dropping a breath together.
Just like I was sorry to cut you off, and I was getting to the end of it there, but can you just quickly tell us about what do you mean by set your intentions?
So for me, whatever you want for that week, some of the guys, like this young fella said to me, 18-year-old said, he said he wants to make sure that this week he gets something takes away for the rest of his life, and so everyone sort of sets whatever they want to feel. For me, I say I want to raise the vibration within the actual building industry. When you raise your vibration within your body, by actually doing breath work and working on yourself, you actually raise your energy levels. And that's why you see me, that I'm actually changed, because I've raised my vibration with my body, by actually working on myself. And that's where, if you start doing that with your men and start doing that, you'll actually see the shift in them, and actually see your work force actually work harder for you, because you're actually giving back to them. You know what I mean? With actually offering them money, you're actually offering a better workplace to work in. Do you know what I mean? And it's not about me for my bottom line. It's that I actually genuinely want to help these men,
Yeah. and create a good environment.
Correct.
All right, so we're going to do something. I forgot to do it for the last couple of weeks. So I've listened to Stephen Bartlett's podcast, and I'm stealing this off him. So he asked his guests a question. So we had Amanda on a couple of weeks ago, and her question was, what's one thing that you used to do that you don't do anymore?
Probably take drugs. I mean, serious. Like for me, I used to do it. Do you know what I mean? And now I don't. Do you know what I mean? I'm not interested. For me, I was trying to find vices elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? And I actually was taking it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I haven't even been interested in it at all. For me, that, and also drinking as well. For me, I do it only when I'm going out to dinner.
Yeah.
Where before I used to use it for a sense of escapism.
Yeah. Awesome. So, mate, for our next guest that comes on?
So for me, for the next guest, what can you do tonight with your wife that can make it special for her? It doesn't have to be huge. It can be just going for a walk. It could be anything you want to do.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, thanks so much for coming back. Second time round. I think you're killing it. Congratulations on what you've been through, mate, and how you've come out of it. And like I said, take my hat off to you for doing what you're doing. So
thanks, brother.
Cheers, mate. Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Duayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.